We've received quite a bit of interest in my free to be workshop, so to that effect, beneath this video is a link that will give you a description for the workshop, and we've also included a special discount. So if that's something you would be interested in, I would invite you to click that link, and I hope that you would find the course to be quite beneficial. Do you suppose that it's possible to be both smart and ignorant at the exact same time? If you deal with a narcissist, you're going to shake your head and say, oh yeah, I know what you're talking about. Narcissists, in a broad general sense, aren't necessarily ignorant on every single front. Many of them can make good decisions about business or work, or they can have a proficiency in certain skill sets. They can be charming and witty, and they can come across as being somebody that really has much intelligence and much information to offer. And so that's the intelligent, that's the smart part of them. But at the same time, when it comes to emotional intelligence in particular, trying to understand your emotional needs or their emotional needs, trying to reconcile some of the differences that you bring to the equation in your relational styles, they can be quite ignorant as you engage with them. And I know many times you think, well, these individuals, when you try to problem solve with them, it's like banging your head against a brick wall. I mean, they don't catch on to the concept. They don't receive input at all. Now, let's go to a classic definition of the word ignorance. When we talk about an ignorant person, we're talking about someone that lacks knowledge and they lack awareness. Now, like I say, you can have intellectual knowledge and intellectual capabilities in certain ways, but on the emotional and relational level, you can collect data all day long, but at the same time, you don't really get to know that person from the inside out. A very common question that I ask people when I'm trying to ascertain whether they're dealing with a narcissist or not is I'll just ask, does that person get you? Does that person really understand and know you from the inside out? And almost universally across the board, the answer is no, not at all. There can be a lack of insight regarding you. There can be a lack of wisdom regarding you. There can be a lack of curiosity about what makes you tick. That's ignorance. And then the worst kind of ignorance is the kind of ignorance where you basically say, and I don't need to learn. I don't want to learn because I already know everything there is to know. That's where the narcissist is. The narcissist has thought to himself or herself that figuring out who you are, it's just a waste of time. And part of it is because figuring out who they are is a waste of time. They think they already know all of the answers, which is part of the ignorance, thinking that you know and not really knowing it at all. They believe that they don't need to pick up on any more social cues, even though they obviously don't pick up on who you are. Their ignorance is shown in the sense that they cannot integrate information about you in such a way where you're able to blend. There is no blending when you're with that person. Basically, you can also say that their ignorance is illustrated in their inability to deal with somebody who's too other. If somebody thinks or acts or has lifestyle beliefs or preferences or differences, rather than saying, I need to get to know you, it's like, I don't need to get to know you, just conform. And so their ignorance is shown there. Their ignorance is illustrated when they apply so many one-size-fits-all solutions to people and events and circumstances and policies and things like that. It's like, here's the blanket answer, no further discussion. Their ignorance is illustrated when they refuse to pick up on nuances about you or people or events. Their ignorance is illustrated in their lack of curiosity. They just kind of have this closed-mindedness about new things and ideas. It's like, I already know what I need to know. Why would I be curious about you? Their ignorance is illustrated in their inability to analyze patterns for why things break down, especially in relationships. Again, we go back to that one size fits all. Their ignorance is illustrated in their unwillingness to listen. and to contemplate on a deeper level. When was the last time a narcissist thought, I need to pay careful attention to what you're telling me? They don't do it because there's an ignorance that's there. Now, let's take that frustrating truth that I'm giving you and then double down and make it even worse. And what's worse is these ignorant narcissists will take that ignorance and they'll muscle up on it. And by that I mean they become really stubborn and forceful in the way that they apply their ignorance. Go figure. And I know so many of it's like, they just keep coming at me, and I keep thinking, this is so dumb. They truly believe they are right about whatever the topic is that's in front of you. That's that stubbornness that they bring to the equation. They're unable to say the words, hey, I could use some help. Instead, if there's a problem, well, you're the problem. It's not they have a lack of wisdom. No, you're a problem. That being the case, they don't learn from their mistakes. They keep repeating the same old patterns over and over. They're very critical and blaming, and whenever there is that problem, it's not them. You're the blame. It's always somebody else's fault. And then they operate with what I refer to as assumed hostility. As soon as they engage with you and they realize that you're not always going to be on the same page, there's this anger or this negativity they assume. It's like, you're out to get me, aren't you? Now, all you want to do is just create problems. And in their ignorance, they can't tolerate the thought that says, well, sometimes people just look at things differently. That may be all it is. It's not, no, you're out to get me. They'll push their own narrative, their own agenda on you with a vengeance, I might add, as opposed to saying, hey, look, we think differently. Let's break it down. And that being the case, they're extremely argumentative. It's exasperating, isn't it? So this is why people like me and others in my profession typically will say, you're going to need to pull back from these people. In their mind, you've heard the old saying, ignorance is bliss. They're just happy as a clam, thinking, well, I've got everything figured out, when in fact, it's not bliss for me over here. They just think, well, I just tell it like it is. And it's like, life is good. I know everything. Now, in order to learn, you have to, first of all, admit that you have the need to learn. And second, you have to want to learn. And that's part of the ignorance that they bring to the equation. So knowing that that's what you're dealing with, and a smart, ignorant person, I want us to pick up on that word ignorance and then take another word off of it, the same root word. It's the word ignore. And let's figure out what that might say. When we talk about ignoring, it comes from the same root word that we get the word ignorance from. Ignoring also means to not know. But in this case, it's like, I choose not to know. And it's not the same, I choose not to learn. But when a person comes at you over and over and over with their ignorance, with their stubbornness and their lack of reason and logic, at some point it's like, I already know everything that I can possibly know about you, and you're not going to go into a learning space with me. Therefore, I choose not to know anything further until there's other evidence that you want to be a different individual. I choose to just pull back. I'm going to ignore what you are bringing, in the sense that I'm not going to let it become a defining feature in my life. That's what I mean by that. I know what I need to know about your intransigent, and I'm not going to be absorbed or obsessed with having to make you smarter than what you really want to be. I'm done. I'm done with your bullying. I'm done with your blaming. I'm done with your arguing. I'm done with your anger. I'm done with your strong arm convincing. I'm done with your rudeness. I'm done with your insensitivities. I'm done with your condescension. I'm done with your better than thou mindset. I'm done with your plain old stupidity. I'm done with your need to pull me into your dysfunction. I'm done with your many invalidations. When you have somebody that's ignorant and they don't know what they don't know and they refuse to learn, it's like, I cannot enter into that space anymore and maintain my sanity and well-being. Now, I'm hoping we're going to conclude with this. When you see that narcissists have this ignorance and then how they muscle up on it and try to force feed it onto you, I'm hoping you can recognize that stubbornness for what it is. And basically, in your mind, you don't have to say this out loud. You might be thinking, I realize you're afraid to address all of the pain of that hurt little boy or that hurt little girl that resides on the inside of you. You remain ignorant because that is easier than you confronting your fears. I get it. And I hope that messages like this give you some good food for thought and help you understand what you're dealing with. If you've not already subscribed, I would encourage you to hit that subscribe button and that bell that goes along with it for notifications. We'll keep more videos coming along. By the way, on Wednesdays, I hope you know that I have now a live feed that goes out to the public. It's 11 o'clock Central Time, U.S., and so I pick up on questions that you leave for me, and so I like doing it. In fact, frankly, it's a favorite part of my week. If you have a need for counseling, I would strongly encourage that you would seek that out. If you would like, we have a sponsor that has an online counseling service with many licensed professional experienced counselors that they can assist you with, and I've aligned myself with them. Their link is below that would take you to the counseling online that you could use. Also, we have my courses, Free to Be, which is about you finding yourself despite the controllers. This is me setting boundaries with the controllers in your life. In addition, we have our webinars, my books, and other resources and other ways that you can find us on various media outlets. Okay, a person can be smart in a certain way, but ignorant in the relational way. And if you're dealing with a narcissist, you know where that goes. That being the case, I hope that you commit yourself not just to being smart, but to having wisdom and awareness and true introspection. And in doing so, it positions you to be a person of objectivity so that you don't get sucked into their dysfunction. Because I'm hoping that in the end, you'll be able to be a person that can be one who experiences peace and who's able to pass along peace to those in your presence.